Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, we're looking at $3.12 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's off 1.6. 96,800 plus for Bitcoin, 1,800 plus for Ethereum. XRP is $2.22. We're off 0.8 in the 24, and we're up 0.9 on the 7-day. So we're sitting pretty flat if you look at it that way. Ranging between 220 and 225. We'll see where this goes. I tell you, look, I'll just say it the way Representative French Hill said. They believe that they're getting legislation for crypto done all across the board, not just one bill, all across the board by August. That's what we're looking at. Some are even saying that we'll have stablecoin legislation possibly before Memorial Day this month, which is May 26th. So we could be 24 days or less away from a stablecoin bill passing. And by the way, the Genius Act in the Senate is headed to the floor, in fact, for a vote. So things are looking up. So hang in there, everybody. And take a look at this right here, which is nothing, because whatever it was, it has gone away. So I don't know what I had there, but I do know this. It's Caleb and Brown, and yes, you've heard me talk about it, and I know a lot of you. If I have to hear him say this ad one more time, well, guess what? If you haven't opened your account on there, you're going to hear me say it a lot more, and you know why? Because it's the best night's sleep I've had since I've been in crypto. Why is that? Because you can call a human being and talk to them about your account, whether it's a technical issue on the account or whether you want to speak directly to a prime broker and set market orders. So that way, if the exchanges around the world freeze up, your assets get cashed out the way you want it. Let me tell you. And on top of that, Caleb and Brown has layers and layers of security and protection that you can get along with your account. You cannot beat this level of customer service and attention to detail to an account. I have looked at them for 3 years. They have been at XRP Las Vegas every single year. And it is time now for me to act. And I have. And I've opened my account. And DAI and myself have come together. You can open your free account and get started. By the way, no hidden fees either. Senate Republicans are moving to fast track the first U.S. stablecoin framework despite opposition from banks and crypto firms. I told you, it's headed to the floor of the Senate. And the Senate is the hardest place to pass because we already know we have more bipartisan connections to crypto in the House. So looking good, ladies and gentlemen, looking good. And this is a reminder here that Ripple lands the DFSA license in Dubai, first blockchain payments provider in the DIFC. This enables faster, cheaper global payments, cementing UAE's crypto hub status. Real USD stablecoin gains traction, attaining a $130 million market cap. Bullish on XRP's future? You bet we are, Coin Bureau. A lot more bullish than you've ever been. And I'll tell you this, too, to go along with all of this. Combined in, because we're about to talk about this Circle deal, potential deal, and there's news on that, so we're going to talk about that. But I want to say this. Imagine acquiring Circle at 61 plus billion where it's sitting today, and then that becoming the real USD. Think of it for a moment. It's quite remarkable, and I think there's still a chance for it to happen, to be honest with you. Meanwhile, I want to let everybody know Australians can now buy XRP straight from an ATM machine. How about that? I love where this is all going, ladies and gentlemen. And here we see, oh gosh, if you listen to this, the latest here, Tether CEO defends. He's defending skipping MiCA regulations, calling the EU stablecoin rules very dangerous. Ardoino says the European Central Bank is more interested in pushing the digital euro to control people and how to spend their money. And he may be right about that. But I'll tell you what I like here. I pick up on the fact Tether CEO defends skipping MiCA regulations. No, he didn't skip the MiCA regulations. You got pushed out. So now the Tether CEO is acting like he planned to be shut out by the EU and MiCA regulations. I tell you, I'm starting to smell pride cometh before the fall. And here we see a repeat here. Tether's plans to launch a US-based stablecoin this year as CEO Arduino builds ties with Washington amid crypto-friendly shifts under Trump. Oh, okay. And this speaks to directly the point we've been making for years. If USD Tether was transparent, highly compliant, properly backed, this wouldn't be worthy of an article. Catch my drift? I remember a couple months ago, Paulo Arduino, who seems to be a bit of a chameleon here, said he didn't need the EU or the United States markets. That's what he said. And then I want to talk about this. Remember when we got the news, we shared this not long ago? Africa's largest payment gateway, Oceanfront, has partnered with Circle to enable cross-border payments and remittances using USDC. And a lot of people were like, hey, wait a minute. Oceanfront is partnered with Ripple. What's going on here? Well, isn't it interesting that Circle is partnering with Oceanfront, which is working with Ripple, and Ripple is looking to purchase Circle? So is this out of house or in-house? Is it a Circle deal or a Ripple deal? Ripple tried to buy Circle, as we know, for up to $5 billion per Bloomberg. Circle rejected the offer, valuing itself higher as it eyes an IPO. However, there are some details under the hood here we all need to know, because I think it's quite possible that Ripple still acquires Circle. Take a look here. So now there's a rumor out here that says, and this comes from multiple places, but this is not a verified source, and it's not to me anyway. But this came out late last night. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse has increased the offer to acquire Circle to $20 billion, and the deal seems to be progressing towards completion. This acquisition could potentially transform Ripple into a bank. I definitely think Ripple could become a bank. You guys know that for years about us here on the channel. But what I'll say is that 20 billion? Why 20 billion? I mean, what happened to 8 or 10, 12, 15 before we just jumped to 20 billion? Look, there's some things to know about all of this. I covered this yesterday, so very briefly, I'm going to touch on this. But Dom from Easy A did a great breakdown of this, and we'll get to it in a second. But here's his take, and it aligns much with what my take is on it. He's basically saying Circle IPO valuation $5 billion, which is the valuation Ripple is looking at when it made its acquisition offer. There's no way Ripple would offer $20 billion for Circle. P.S. I see lots of people saying $5 billion is a low offer since Circle holds $60 billion in collateral for the stablecoins its issues. However, the collateral simply backs the coin Circle issues USDC. It does not own the collateral. So Circle generates revenue from its interest on that collateral, which is used to calculate the $5 billion valuation. Very, very solid, clean way to understand that. Then there's this article came out by CoinDesk about the fast track of the offer for $4 to $5 billion here. And it says it was rejected, which it was. But nonetheless, we'll talk about it. Let's talk about it. So here, Daniel Conway comes in and says, if Circle turned down a $5 billion offer from Ripple to buy the company, it might live to regret it. And that's exactly what I said yesterday when we talked about the breakdown of Dom from Easy A, who said basically the same thing. And it makes sense because they make money off of the collateral backing the stable coin. If the Fed cuts interest rates, it really squeezes the margin for Circle, and it could squeeze it down to nothing. That's really what the problem is here. And we know what? I said this yesterday. Why is Circle IPOing? Well, they're IPOing because Circle just also announced that they want to build a payments platform for Circle's USDC coin to run on. You know, like a Venmo or a PayPal style, right? Well, here's the thing. You need money to do that. So how do you do that? Well, you hold an IPO and you raise funds. Well, we already know that the valuation's not coming in as strong as it was a few years ago when they looked to IPO at a $9 billion valuation. So with all of this information, you have to ask yourself, why would Circle take the risk of IPOing at a lower valuation, knowing you're in the headwinds of a potential Federal Reserve rate cut that's going to squeeze your margin out, and now you're not making the money you were making before the IPO, and you're pouring all the money that you raised from the IPO into building a platform which seems to be a little late to the dance. So I agree with Dan when he says that they should actually consider that purchase. So Rosalind Layton comes in and says the same thing. Dan's right about the urgency for Circle. Acceleration happens in bear markets and innovation turns into conquest into rebound. The window is closing, Circle's hitting IPO headwinds, and Ripple has cash, infrastructure, and legal clarity. There it is. That's why I think there's still a chance for this deal to go down. John Deaton even says here and puts a more rational spin on this, which is where my mind has ended up here. And by the way, another person, Andrew, AP Abacus, comes in here, Bitcoin guy, and updates and says Ripple's increased bid for Circle isn't confirmed, but there is serious back and forth. Can confirm Ripple has gone beyond the initial reports of their first public $5 billion offer. We've seen David Schwartz say they'd go 6 at the highest. What's real? I don't know. But John Deaton has some great thoughts here, and he says Circle filed the S1 for the SEC April 1st, 2025, planning to list on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker CRCL, with JP Morgan Chase and Citigroup as the lead underwriters. IPO is expected this summer. Circle is aiming for the valuation between 4 and 5 billion for its IPO, hence the 5 billion offer to buy Ripple to buy Circle. What we need to remember is that Circle's valuation of 4 to 5 billion is significantly lower than the 9 billion valuation we just talked about when the failed SPAC deal went down in 22. Circle's rejection of the 5 billion offer suggests Circle believes its market value, particularly post-IPO, is likely to exceed 5 billion, possibly approaching or surpassing the 9 billion from its 2022 SPAC attempt. When you add in the regulatory 180 we've witnessed with an administration super favorable to crypto in general, coupled with the Stable Genius Act likely to pass this month, I'm adding that in, a $10 billion deal is not crazy. And there you could see where the negotiation is. But a $20 billion just doesn't feel right, right? But I'll tell you what does feel right. What does feel right is this deal getting done. That's what feels right about this. So we'll see how this goes. But I tell you, it's world domination for Ripple, XRP, and the real USD. And why? Because there's a macro issue going on here, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a great reset that is upon us all. Don't believe it, it's still true. Over the past 55 years, the world has quietly lived through a monetary revolution. What began in 1971 as a temporary suspension of the dollar's convertibility into gold, declared by President Nixon, became a permanent departure from Bretton Woods, replacing gold-backed stability with a floating fiat experiment tied to oil, the petrodollar. It was never meant to last. Even Paul Volcker, who helped design the suspension, believed it would be short-lived. Instead, it became the foundation of today's system, a system that has fueled an unprecedented explosion of global debt and left nations at the mercy of a currency no longer anchored to anything real. We're living inside a monetary experiment. A history shows these always end the same way. People know my position, and I've been clear about it for years, but a new article is on the way, unpacking Scott Bessent's latest comments and shifting role of the petrodollar. This is where we are. And you guys know I've been here from day one. I believe that this is what this is all about. This is why stablecoins are actually so important. And this is why the Ripple acquisition, potential acquisition of Circle, is even bigger than it appears on its face. No question about it. Now, with that being said, Crypto Basic says XRP's price could rise between 12.23 and 22.20 after the ETF approval if XRP ETFs get 15 to 30% of Bitcoin ETF inflows. Crypto Insight says, can we see this in our next impulsive move for XRP? A possible spike or a rise to $10 plus? And then we see this from analyst Eggreg Crypto, picked up by Crypto Basic, that $17 XRP with a mega monthly candle and then a $55 pump after a macro channel breakout. It's all right in front of us. I'm just glad we're here and our bags are full to watch it go down, no matter where it goes. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.